Storybook Brawl was nice enough to send me some dust codes, so I'm doing another giveaway. Stick around to the end of the video to find out how you can enter to win. What is up, everybody? I'm No Lux Given, and today we are going to be taking a look at the developer notes patch 71.20, aka the August 2022 patch notes for Storybook Brawl. And then I'm also going to be talking about how I feel these changes will impact the game. There is a decent amount to unpack here, a few new things, and you can also watch this video where LSV and Matt Nass discuss some of the changes, or you can listen to me talk about some of them here. Let's resize my camera a little bit, just so that I'm not cutting anything off. But we are going to see, first and foremost, a few just balance changes. Some strong cards are going to get slightly weaker, some weak cards are going to get slightly stronger. I don't see many of these changes having a huge impact in the game, but I think that they're hitting the right cards here, and they have all the data. They're not going to mistake what cards are weak and what cards are strong. Obviously, Queen of Hearts, one of the best 3-cost units. If you take a look at my Peter Pan tier list, it's basically entirely built around the fact that I think Queen of Hearts is super strong. And I don't really think that this changes too much. I think that just -2 health still makes Queen of Hearts a really, really strong card in the early game. Still really falls off in the later portions of the mid-game even. So I think its power level is about right, and I don't think that this changes it too much, while also helping to just tone down one of the stronger cards. I'd still put it near the top of my Peter Pan's tier list, but yeah, this definitely seems like a fine change. It could theoretically now mean that it's more susceptible to something like Ring of Meteors or Falling Stars. However, if you also have a Black Cat, which you often do with Queen of Hearts, the Black Cat will die first, and then the Queen of Hearts will get the buff before it dies to 1 damage. So that is definitely something to consider, but it's not something that will affect Queen of Hearts that much of the time. And then, of course, if you put any type of pump on it, it will resist those spells as well. So definitely something to consider. I don't think that ultimately it's going to hurt Queen of Hearts' viability in many capacities. Similarly, +1/+1 to Princess White, I don't think is going to do anything either. Now, it is a 3/5, and 3/5 is an interesting stat line. We have 3/6 from Prized Pig. That is probably the closest thing, and then of course it's giving other dwarves in your shop +1/+1. And if you care enough about the dwarves in your shop getting +1/+1, then you probably care about a +1/+1 on Princess White, because that's all that she is really offering. I don't think that she is still incredibly powerful in that capacity, and it's more just about like the gameplay of what she's doing. So Princess White doesn't excite me. We are going to see a few other changes to some dwarves in this patch notes as well. And I think the important thing to bring up with that is that my video yesterday was dwarves. My first video in the tournament, which I uploaded on Sunday, was also dwarves. And there's definitely a sense that dwarves is unplayable. And I'm just here to say that yes, dwarves are bad, but they're not unplayable. And I think that that is a worthy distinction to think about. That said, I don't think that this helps an incredible amount. Basically what this does is it just makes you feel better about those 3.0 turns where the only thing that you can do in your shop is pick up a Princess White, and you're not a hero that incentivizes you to roll in some capacity. You're like, I don't know, maybe Apocalypse, I feel like, is the most likely hero to just play dwarves just cuz, and just want the strength on the board. So for a hero like Apocalypse, this could be a buff, or for some other potential heroes, but dwarves are definitely still in an awkward space. And I have heard a lot of suggestions about like a dwarf hero. a hero that impacts dwarves. I think that that's pretty terrible, because you don't want to balance dwarves around that hero. However, animals are some of the most powerful units, and they have 2 or 3 heroes that impact them. And what else? Royals. Well, royals have classically been held back by balance of Miri in a weird way. And I think that's something that they've moved away from a little bit recently, as now Miri's kind of terrible, but it's something that I think is a little bit awkward in these auto-battler games. Is printing a hero just kind of makes the tribe feel great when you are that one specific hero, 1 out of every 10 games where you see it on your screen and then decide to pick it, even probably going to like 1 in 15 at that point. But when you're not that hero, they're just going to still be bad. So yeah, I still don't love this for dwarves. We're also going to see a +1/+1 on Amy and Greedy both, and I don't know. I don't love Amy. I think the Greedy is a ton of fun, and +1/+1 on Greedy I am actually looking forward to. I think that that can be really powerful. Amy was very, very weak at this stage when you compared it to Lady of the Lake and Sporko on the same plane as it, and Lady of the Lake and Sporko just have so much more in terms of synergy that I don't think you're ever going to really want to pick up Amy unless you're already in dwarves, which is kind of terrible. That just makes it a bad card, right? So I still don't love Amy. +1/+1 I know is a lot. It is a 20% increase, right? But I'm still going to wind up skipping out on Amy most of the time. Maybe I'll try her out sometimes, but it's the fact too that, like, I don't know. It's just meant to be put in dwarf. So still really not the biggest fan of Amy. I do really like Greedy though. Greedy is just a ton of fun. Maybe part of that is the name, that you feel like you're doing something wrong and thus feel like you're doing something so right when you pick up Greedy. But ultimately, I think that the Greedy change is actually a nice big one. We saw +1/+1, I believe, to Feasting Dragon. I believe that was a +1/+1. Feels like it might have gotten more. No, it must have been. What was it? I feel like it was a 5/8, and then they moved it to a 6/10. But either way, it got about +1/+1 in stats, and we saw that amount of stats was actually huge for the character, and Feasting Dragon is just seeing a lot more play now. I think that Feasting Dragon is a lot different than something like Amy or Greedy, or something like Amy, rather. Greedy does have to hit a critical mass of stats to do something in a very similar way to Feasting Dragon, right? Feasting Dragon, sure, you give it +1/+1, but it either slays or it doesn't. Greedy, again, +1/+1, but it either survives or it doesn't. And I think in a similar way, +1/+1 to Greedy is just going to make this card see even more play, especially if you get it like on the 4.0 part of the turn. But you are definitely going to want to have Lady of the Lake behind it rather than having an Amy. And another thing that is really hurting Amy in this patch is there are even more reasons to pick up Lady of the Lake and Sporko, as we will see coming up. We're also going to see +10 attack to, or +5 attack rather, to Angry. Make him feel a little bit more angry is part of the idea here. I think that that's probably fine. I think it makes you more happy when you just find Angry as a True Love's Kiss target. Maybe it makes you more likely to just pick up Angry on 5.0. There's a lot of times where I'm dwarves and I'm still rolling past Angry and I'm level 5. Because the best thing that you can do on dwarves is find XP and find that early Lordy. So that's definitely a little bit awkward as far as Angry is concerned. I think that you build into it more so when you are able to find that Ring of Meteors. I don't think that this is really going to change that too much, but some additional stats for, an underplayed dwarf that could potentially be a linchpin of the tribe is definitely welcome. For my money, and I keep on beating this drum, I think that the biggest thing the dwarves need is some type of cohesiveness, some type of mechanical identity. You have 2 dwarves right here that say, when I survive, do a thing. And then that mechanic is completely abandoned on all other dwarves. And it might not be that exciting for all dwarves to have this, because then you still just pump them all up, and that's kind of the idea. But I don't know. You have some other ideas here. You've got giving them +1 or +2/+2. You've got gold generation. I think that there's potentially some fun mechanical things there, but I digress. We're also going to see slightly more stats to Copycat. And I believe that Copycat was at one point a 210. Maybe I'm just wrong on that. I feel like they buffed it up to a 210. That's when they got good. And then they made it smaller again and also nerfed the interaction with Friendly Spirit and Good Boy. Apologies, I just realized that my camera is frozen here. And shoot, how long have I been recording for? All right, I'm gonna have to do this live because of my new editing program. So bear with me here as I talk about the cards and try to get this camera fixed without too much more interruption. But I believe that Copycat was buffed to 10 health at one point. Maybe I'm just totally off base on that, just misremembering a little bit. If the camera goes out again, or if I can't get it here, then we will be cameraless for the rest of this one. But let's see. Okay, looks like we will unfortunately be cameraless. We were cameraless to yesterday's video too. That just happens sometimes. Okay, well, I've got it back. Apologies. It's a faulty cord on the back of the camera there that I should probably just get fixed, but whatever. It's the port on the camera that is loose. So it's a more expensive fix. It's just buying a brand new camera. I think that, a little bit of extra health can help the Copycat. It's never going to reach its heyday because it's not as good with a Good Boy anymore. However, yeah, it's definitely been seeing a lot less play since that nerf. I think that there are some really cool things that you can do with Copycat. I personally haven't really even experimented with it too much, even since it's become a mage, and I feel bad for that, but just haven't really been able to put anything great together. I've had some games that haven't gone super well, and Copycat has just fallen a little bit flat for me, but maybe with a little bit more health, it could be good. And then Wombats in Disguise is also getting +1/+1. This change, I think, is pretty big. Now, Wombats in Disguise still has some other problems with it, namely that it is a neutral unit. However, and that it doesn't summon an animal, right? Those are the two biggest things, because it doesn't work with Bear Stain, which kind of makes it like a waste of gold. There's also Baby Bear and Pigs competing with it on the same level. I think both of those things are going to hold it back. However, Wombats in Disguise can still work with Copycat strategies and Friendly Spirit strategies in some really interesting ways, and that is going to really hold the card back more so than its actual stats on the card. It's its late game synergies, because picking it up as a level 5 unit is so cost prohibitive. I'm just checking to see if my camera went out again. Picking it up as a level 5 unit for 5 gold, excuse me, is so cost prohibitive when there's so many other good options. And I think that that's still going to hold the Wombats back. Obviously, giving it +1/+1 is also giving +1/+1 to the unit inside. I don't think that was what the Wombat's problem was. I think the problem is the fact that it does not create an animal. Hercules is receiving +5/+5. I think that this one is a mistake. I think that we're going to see this one get rolled back. I think that Hercules was already a really, really powerful card to grab yourself a tier 6 treasure. I personally found myself playing Hercules a lot. Maybe I overplayed it. Maybe that was just because Hercules is so sweet that I wound up overplaying it, but a 25% increase in stats is huge. It's bigger than, Wombats in Disguise. I guess it's hard to factor in when you count the unit resummoning, but all of these things did not get a 25 increase in stats. Maybe Angry did. This got like this got a 25% increase in stats. Okay. So Greedy did, but and I guess Wombats did too, if we're being fair. Yeah, from 4 to 5 is 25. Regardless, I think that Hercules was already a really strong unit. I've played one game on the newest patch and I saw a bunch of Hercules, and one thing that I think I'd like to potentially, that I think I will say to the devs, if we're gonna do this change, then questing units should not have a collective pool between the 8 players, because now you get into a situation where 2 players or 3 players in the lobby are up in XP. They pick up a Hercules, they activate the Hercules upgrade, and if they don't sell or True Love's Kiss or Shard of the Ice Queen that Hercules, 3 upgraded Hercules takes 9 out of the 10 from the availability pool. And that's a very niche part of the game, but the card activating sooner means that it is now in the pool for less time and will definitely be tricky as far as creating a comeback for other players, because they just won't have access to Hercules. They'll have less time to pick up other tier 6 units, and this, I think, is really, really going to reward XP in the new patch. I already thought that Hercules was very powerful. Now it's even more powerful. And some other things to note is it only needs +8 attack in order to activate in 3 hits. So that can be received from an upgraded Sporko or a Boomhilda. Either of those will give it +10 up to, I guess you need +9. So the easiest way to do that is probably +10 up to 35. Then it only needs to be in 3 combats and will complete really, really quickly. I can see what they're saying, that once you are level 6, then if you feel like you're behind, then it's hard to get into Hercules. I feel like it should be a risk. I feel like it should have some trade-offs and things, and this is just almost not even risky, because it's now the biggest tier 6 unit too, right? It's still probably most of the time going to be smaller than Pumpkin, smaller than Lordy if you can build around it. But for a card that requires absolutely no build around, that goes in every single comp to also be the strongest stat line, which it already was at 2020, but now it is just even beating Jormungand. I think it's a little bit silly. I think that we won't see this one for super long, but have fun with it. And like I said, I think that it increases the power of XP and the like. We are also going to see a slight change to Boomhilda, which I just mentioned, the new name for Gumblegore. Boomhilda is now getting the mage tag, and I have often thought that this has been a huge downside of Boomhilda, because you just didn't want it in those mage comps, and made it a very weak unit. I think that Boomhilda has often been and I almost feel like I have to say this, that just by referring to the card as Boomhilda and pretending it isn't Gumblegore, when I say the phrase Boomhilda has always been, there's a part of that is like Berenstain, Mandala effect, and or Mandela effect. That is a Mandela effect, right? To call it the Mandala effect. Yeah, I don't know. That was just funny in my head. But Boomhilda has always been a character that is very strong if you True Love's Kiss into it, or find any other way to get it early through like masquerade balls or something like that. However, there's very few endgame comps that it makes it into unless you like Beauty's influence it and make it into a good unit, or you're playing Beauty, or you're potentially in some like early game pumpkin comp, but you will cut it from pumpkin comps eventually too. So making it a mage means that it at least has a home in some of those mage comps. It makes sense. Almost every other ranged character in the game is a mage, especially with this artwork. As they say here, it was hard to justify not just adding mage. I don't think that art should define the mechanics of cards if they really need to, and they have enough money that they could even make a new art, and it's not worth, throwing, what's that called? I can't think of it right now, where you make a bad decision because you made a previous bad decision. Not that I'm saying that this art is bad in any capacity. I think that it's great. I just think it's weird to say that. But I think that having Boomhilda now be a mage will mean that you can actually play it, and it'll stick around, which tier 6 units should be able to, at least in some capacity, you should be able to envision how they can fit into an endgame comp. Even Hercules, even after it's completed its treasure, which by the way, will make it a 50-50 after it's completed its quest, even Hercules has means where you'd still actually want to play it in your final comp, either because you're good boy, or because you're like mirror, or because you're playing court wizards and just want a large unit. But Boomhilda never really has any justifications for any of those late game things. Maybe monsters, but I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of monsters in general. Now that is definitely more of a play that you could justify with the fact that it's going to be getting buffs for mages. It's going to build into 9th Book of Merlin. It's another level 6 mage, so all of those things could be good as well. We're only going to be seeing one hero change in this patch, and it's a good one. We are going to be seeing Zelhua move down from 45 to 40. This is something that I've been bringing up for a while now. It seems like they just have been like forgetting to make this change, because Zelhua's stats have clearly been overperforming for what the hero can do. A little bit less health, I think, will balance it slightly. I don't think that it's going to be a huge impact, though. I still think that Zelhua is a really, really strong hero. Just make it to 4.0, and then you have a massive, massive advantage on the rest of the lobby. We are going to see a bunch of changes to art as well, and I'm going to group this in personally as a change to art, though they have written it off as a change to a treasure just because the name has changed. But yeah, we're just going to see a slightly different art asset for Radiant Prism. It's now called the World Tree, and even this art I do believe is temporary, and the name is potentially temporary as well. But it makes sense to not have two prisms on level 6. I thought though that I did see art for Radiant Prism at one point that had more animals and a bunch of different types of characters from the game included in. So maybe we will just see more types of those characters populate the world tree. One thing that I have noticed with this art, and then if you also look at, well, this I think we can all agree is probably just temporary for now. Oh yeah, it even says remastered art coming soon. Fair enough. But something like Bounty Board, people have brought up, could Bounty Board include some in-game references rather than just having like those nameless faces on it? And maybe those faces are references to other things that I don't understand. It's definitely possible. And I think that that would be good. I'm not sure if they are avoiding that because they want to potentially be able to reuse some assets. Like, say on the Bounty Board, you have like Prized Pig, Greedy, and Kitty Cut Purse or something like that. Like, those are the faces that are on the Bounty Board. If you then make a second set and Prized Pig or Greedy aren't in those sets, then it could get a little bit awkward if you then like don't want to go back and change the asset, and now you have this weird reference to things that are no longer in the game, though that's kind of a cool Easter egg as well for my money. So maybe we'll see something like that for the World Tree. Sounds like we will. Remastered art coming soon, but yeah, that's the new Radiant Prism. Nothing has changed about it, just the name. Talked about it for a lot, for just the name change there. We are going to see some actual functional changes to some treasures as well. Book of Heroes now, instead of +1/+2, is +2/+2, which is pretty cool. I haven't wrapped my head around this one yet. I am still trying to figure it out. I want to say that I like Book of Heroes more than most, but even I don't really like it. It definitely needs the change. I guess the thing that I'll just say about this treasure is it has always been the best on Court Wizard, and now it is better on Court Wizard, and that's the way that you're going to want to play it. So I'm not sure how good this is just yet. I think it's certainly better though, right? And if you're looking to experiment with it yourself, Court Wizard is definitely the way to go, because Court Wizard gets those bonus attacks and then starts to get in there. And then it's also pretty good with Beauty. Beauty likes books, and the Book of Heroes is one of the better things that she can read. Now, I don't believe that for Beauty it just always triggers. I think that your opponents still need to be excuse me. And we're not cutting this out either because of the new editing program making that too much of a hassle for me. But gotta one take it. I don't think that this it's like, I don't play Book of Heroes ever, and I don't play Beauty ever, so I'm not super keen on the interaction. I don't believe that all of your opponent's characters are just considered evil, but all of your characters are considered good for the first part of the wording here, and so this can potentially work on it. Could be good with something like lightning dragons to scale those, or anything else that is attacking, which is everything. So yeah, that's some stuff to consider there. That is the only treasure change, actually. Did not realize that. I thought that maybe there was one more, but there is just a bunch of new art assets in the game, which definitely make it a little bit more interesting to play, not in an impactful way, because eventually we'll start to recognize this art too. But I will say that, so tomorrow's video, just to tease, tomorrow's video is going to be on Princess P. I've played 2 games on the new patch. We've got a Princess P game tomorrow. The following day is going to be a hat ball video on the newest patch. And it was very interesting trying to play hat ball while also not recognizing the art for anything in the game. So that made everything a lot more fun. But speaking of fun, Princess P, a new card. It is a 6-cost, 10/10 Royal. And let's unpack this here. Princess P, I get double bonuses from supports. Last Breath, give the characters supporting me my attack and health this brawl. So really, this character has a lot going for it, and I want to break it all down. I'm going to miss some stuff. That is why I am telling you that tomorrow's video will also be on Princess P, and anything that I just forget to bring up today, hopefully I will mention or showcase in tomorrow's video. First things first, this is just a strong character. Let's read what it says here. Royals has been missing a non-quest level 6 character for a while now, so Princess P to the rescue. All she wants is some good support, which is key to a good night's sleep. Obviously, that is the pun here. That they've had Princess P in the game before. It was a 4-cost 4/4 that got +4/+4 additionally for each character supporting it. I thought it was good. It was cute. But there were a lot of times where you just, I don't know, it was a different game back then. I think that Princess P in this version is really strong and really a lot of fun. And part of that is because we also have a lot of new tools in the game that Princess P can play with. So I think first things first, you want to talk about it in the context of royals, because it is a new royal, so let's talk about that. It's not great in royals. It can be good if you are deliberately building towards having a board with River Wish Mermaid, which is technically a royal, but it's not typically what we think about when we think about royal comps. So I think as far as royals goes, Princess P almost does not really do anything. And it's important to note when we unpack some of this text here, double the bonuses that I get from supports, okay? That's straightforward enough, but still has its own confusing language behind it. But I wanted to unpack the last breath. Give the characters supporting me my attack and health this brawl. It's very important to note that this does not function like Stag or Chupacabra, at least to my knowledge. It is not just pumping up the characters behind it, it is pumping up the characters that are using a support ability to affect Princess P. So that does mean that the characters either have to be directly behind it, or you can have Horn of Olympus, which is very, very strong with Princess P. I think what we're going to see a lot of in the new patch is just a brand new comp. When you get Horn of Olympus, you're playing Princess P, and that is now a new, really strong endgame, which I think is good for the game. It might be a little bit strong, but I think it is fun for the game that when you find yourself in the possession of a rare treasure, that you build around it and see what you are able to make work. I will also touch on now what upgraded Princess P looks like. So it's a 2020, and instead of getting double bonuses from supports, it's going to get triple the bonuses from supports. Then it will give the characters supporting me double my attack and health this brawl. And that's just important to understand how those interactions are going to work out. And I brought up River Wish Mermaid a lot in this capacity, because it's the only royal that has any synergy with Princess P, at least that I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, because like Good Witch is not a royal, and that's it. So the main way that I think that this card is going to see play is in Slay comps, because it gets double. It's like already having an Evil Eye as part of your Slay comp. You put this in front of a River Wish Mermaid, and it's not super powerful, right? It doesn't do anything crazy, but if it is able to slay, then it is going to get double those River Wish Mermaid triggers, which are really going to help to grow your Jormungand. So if you have any type of way to grow the Princess P, or if you get it early through like a True Love's Kiss or something like that, you're going to want to just keep growing it through a River Wish Mermaid. And then as you grow the Princess P, you're also going to be able to grow the River Wish Mermaid too. And where that's a lot of fun is you can also throw in something like Cursed Throne, and you can also throw in something like Oni King. Now, Oni King won't get the buff. That's not considered a support Oni King, or Oni King, Oni Tyrant? I'm not sure. Neither will get the buff from Princess P. I think it is Oni Tyrant. But Princess P will get the buff from Oni Tyrant, and that's the important part. And the reason I bring that up is because Cursed Throne is making your royals into monsters. And then you have this position where Princess P is more likely to slay. That is going to give the bonus back to the River Wish Mermaid, which is then also going to be able to slay, because the River Wish Mermaid will then get to be huge. And that's just more slays on the board. If River Wish Mermaid can slay and stay while you have a frontline Jormungand, that just makes your comp a lot stronger. It means you're dealing a lot more damage to your opponents because your River Wish Mermaids aren't just dying. And then sometimes what happens with slay comps is like everything in the front row attacks, some things stick around, then everything in the back row attacks and all of your River Wish Mermaids die, and then when your front row attacks again, your River Wish Mermaid isn't there. Sorry about that. Now your River Wish Mermaid has a lot higher of a chance to stick around if your Princess P dies. And I think that that is really cool. Once you start to grab an upgraded Princess P, and then you are getting multiple instances of the River Witch Mermaid, and I haven't even mentioned Baba Yaga, but you get multiple instances of Baba Yaga with all of these Princess Peas. Everything just starts to go crazy. I think that is like the first thought for what you should look at when you pick up Princess P. I also realized I talked myself right past the important part, the reason that I wanted to touch on this being a royal. This being a royal is actually very important because currently Sky Castle, which says your royals only need 2 to upgrade, stops at 4. There's royals from levels 2, 3, and 4, and then the only royal on level 5 is Lancelot, and the only royal on level 6 is Hercules. But now we have Princess P, which means we can combine Princess P's with Sky Castle and churn out tier 6 treasures without the use of the world tree, right? So that is going to make for some really interesting implications. I think about like in Storybook Brawl 99, if you are Horde Dragon with Sky Castle, now you can churn through Princess Peas to try to find the World Tree or other huge tier 7 treasures. So that definitely opens up a lot of possibilities in the end game as well. And I think it's going to be something that we might look at in tomorrow's video, though I don't actually remember if I get the Sky Castle off, or maybe I had the Sky Castle briefly and then had to toss it. Maybe I just didn't have the Sky Castle. Don't remember. Yeah, something to look forward to in tomorrow's video. Either way, I think that is a big upgrade for Sky Castle as well, which is just another upgrade for another really sweet tier 4 treasure. So looking forward to that. The way that I see Princess P getting played out a lot, and why I think it's just super powerful, is you just support it with Lady of the Lake and Sporko. Maybe as the game moves on, you can switch out one of those or both of those for Gumblegore. And okay, my camera is still alive. Great. If you are able to give this like a bunch of attack from some supports, all of those stats are coming back double on the supported unit. You put and by Gumblegore I mean Boomhilda, put a Boomhilda behind this, it is a 30-10, and then this dies and all of those stats go onto the Boomhilda, which then makes it a 40-15, which is a pretty nice sized unit. And ultimately, yeah, I think that it just plays very nicely with all of the ranged supports in the game, even just a Baba Yaga. We are also going to see, oh, that's why I'm getting confused. Okay. I'm not sure how much of this I want to spoil, but I will just say it now, that my hat ball game that is coming up in 2 days also heavily features Princess P. And part of that was me wanting to make use of the new cards. Part of that was, I think Princess P is pretty strong in a lot of different build scenarios. I think that it is a good unit to have in a mage's comp, even so. And basically, I just slapped, I put it in front of a Boomhilda and a Baba Yaga, and then anytime I saw a Queen's Grace, anytime I saw a Luna's Grace, was both called Queen's Blessing, Luna's Grace? I'm not sure. Anytime I saw any of those spells that pump up any of my units, really, Merlin's Test, anything, Sugar and Spice, all of those things went on to Princess P, because by pumping up Princess P, I was also pumping up the supporting units behind it. So that just gave me a ton of stats. That game is a ton of fun. I'm really excited to show off that one. But I think that that is just a really, really powerful way to use Princess P. I'm excited for all of the different ways that we might be able to build around this card in the future, including maybe with the Book of Heroes. Who knows? I think that's basically everything that I have to say on Princess P for the time being. Yeah, I think that we will end it there, and that is the only new card. We are going to see a ton of new art. I definitely recommend familiarizing yourself with some of the new art. Obviously, you can't learn it all, and there's even a bunch of new art that isn't pictured right here. One thing, this is Burnbeard is Burning Tree, not Ashwood Elm. They did unfortunately rename Burning Tree, which is unlucky because it is still a 420. That change still did make it into the game, but it is now a little bit more family friendly. And the one thing that I will say, right, is to familiarize yourself with like, okay, this is Magic research, this is what that looks like if you're planning on playing any Hatball games, because like I said, I got one of those coming up and it was very confusing to not even know what the different cards were. Yeah, I'm excited for all of the different new arts and things being added into the game. Seems fun. And here's just a list of some other things that are both included above, and then I don't know why this is like Trojan Donkey is considered polished, because Trojan Donkey, the art looks brand new. It's got much new colors in it. Maybe it's the same art, but the colors are a whole bunch different. And then, oh, okay, so all of these ones are temporary, which makes sense, okay, because Sugar and Spice I thought was kind of silly, but it just has the word, like, there's like a cup of sugar, and then there is a jar of spice that just has the word spice written across it. It's like a jar of cinnamon. So yeah, kind of silly in that capacity, but this just means that there are a bunch of other new things to look for in the client that might trip you out a little bit. So either watch some Storybook Brawl videos that we've got coming up, or just jump in there, play, practice, or just, you know, it's a new month, play ranked, you'll figure it out. That's what I always do. So that is, yeah, just something to be mindful of. It was definitely jarring to me because there's so much new stuff in the game. And by new stuff, I just mean new art assets in that capacity. We also see a way to manage your emotes. I have not done this myself, but I did notice that by a default, it did seem to have some of the emotes that I like used a lot. I'm not sure if that was just a coincidence, but it definitely had this guy, which I always use. It had both of my Gwen emotes as well. Then I believe it also had like this angry one. So I'm going to play around with this a little bit. Is probably worth purchasing Morgana at this point just to grab this fingers crossed emoji. Whenever you see me, you can throw up those fingers crossed for no luck's given. And then there are a few more bug fixes and improvements and stuff, and I'm just noticing now that my camera has frozen again, so let's just take that off the screen. But I think that we have talked enough in this video that I'm not going to go over those bug fixes this time, especially with the camera dying out on me. That is going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Luck's Given. Peace. Here's the details for my giveaway this week. Just leave a comment on any of my videos that includes the word animal. New week, new code word, and you'll be entered into a chance to win a 4,000 dust code. The reason that I say to include the word, that way I can differentiate between the people just leaving a comment and those that are actually interested in the dust, to make sure that it goes to a person that will appreciate it. And there's no limit to how many times you can enter. You can go back and comment on some of my previous videos. I've been uploading daily Storybook Brawl videos for the past 7 or 8 months at this point, so I'm sure there is some sweet content that you have yet to see. And yeah, you can enter multiple times. I will do a new code next week. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that if a bunch of people enter, I will give away more codes. So that's just going to be limited by how many people are entering and how many people are commenting. Let's get this channel to over 1,000. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching. I'm No Luck's Given. Peace.